And then we get to factoring. It says a quadratic with leading coefficient of 1. Quadratic expression just means there's the ones with the squared term. Leading coefficient of 1 means we don't see that number out in front of our variable on that first one. When I look at that and it tells me to factor and I have 3 terms, it almost always came from FOILing something out, where I had my 2 sets of parentheses. So when I factor that, I start with factoring my leading term. My leading term is a w squared. I had to take a w times a w. W times w is w squared. The second thing I figure out are my signs. If the end sign is a plus, which it is in this case, they both have to be the same. And so you look at the middle term, and it'll have the same sign as the middle term. If the end sign happens to be a minus, then you just have 1 plus and 1 minus. Doesn't matter which order you put them in. So in this case, my end sign is positive. I have both signs going to be the same as the middle, so they're both going to be a negative. A negative times a negative gives me a positive on the end. And a negative plus a negative gives me that negative in the middle. Then what I want to do is factor my end number. If I just think about all the factors of 20, 1 times 20, 2 times 10, 3 doesn't go into 20, 4 times 5. I want the pair of factors that when I add them together using the signs that are in there, I get the same as the middle number. In this case, I have to have the 4 and the 5. A minus 4 plus a minus 5 is the minus 9 in the middle, right? You could FOIL it all the way out, but that's your shortcut. So, the next one, if I'm going to factor that one, I'm going to have my 2 sets of parentheses, because when there's 3 terms, it's almost always came from FOILing. Factors of x squared. How did they get x squared? An x and an x, right? Then I look for my signs. The end sign is a plus, so both signs have to be the same as the middle, which is also a plus. Positive times a positive, right? I want the factors of 64 that add up to 16. So what pair of factors of 64 would add up to 16? 8 and 8, right? Now this one's a special case. When you get the same thing twice, you could enter it in like this, but it's going to say if you do, it's correct. However, the better way to enter it is to write it as a square, right? When I have something times itself, it means it's squared. So x plus 8 squared. So go ahead, try to factor number 15 there on your paper. So we started out with the factors of y squared, y and y. My signs, the end is a negative, so I know I have to have 1 plus and 1 minus. Positive times a negative is a negative. I want my factors of 6 that when I plug them in, I get a negative 1 y in the middle. So I could use 1 and 6, or I could use 2 and 3. Since my signs are opposite, I'm really subtracting my numbers to get that 1. I want to have a negative 3 plus a 2. Negative 3 plus 2 is negative 1 in the middle, right?